So we're all stoners here. And one of the popular stoner questions is, what's your favorite food? But we all know each other well enough that that's kind of a trite question. So the question that I really want to get to know you guys with is, what food has caused the most PTSD for you?
Orange cream, anything, hands down.
Really?
Yes. Ugh, it just takes me to an awful time and place in life that I don't want to be ever again.
We'll get into that story eventually. Is there a good story behind that?
I mean, just a person drinking for the first time story, but it ruined me bad.
Ooh, yeah.
Bad.
I can't drink vodka anymore.
Ooh, and it was when the whipped cream vodkas first came out. Remember, like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what and they did it with orange soda, and the first time I ever got like drunk was that, and it was so bad. Oh, I still smell it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw up. It's not good.
Scott?
I like spicy hot food, but my body does
too.
not like spicy hot food.
No?
No, there's been a few times where I swear I've scorched the porcelain before, so.
So I assume it probably involves alcohol too?
Oh, no, I just eat a lot of hot food, and it comes back to bite me in the ass, literally.
Literally. Oh.
All right, I don't want to get into it, but the most PTSD I've endured from food is giant cucumber, but I don't want to tell you about it. But can you believe
also a sore ass story, ironically.
Can you believe that this one guy got PTSD from pizza?
How?
So, a Belgian man says that he has been receiving mysterious pizzas that he had never ordered for over a decade. While it may initially seem like an annoying prank, the victim says he's received so many pizzas over the years that he shakes every time he hears a scooter coming down the street.
Shudders.
Jean van Langelhem, a 65-year-old resident of Turnhout in Belgium, I guess, says delivery drivers bring pizzas to his door at all hours and day and night. This has reportedly been going on for almost a decade, and Langhorn says he has no idea why. Initially, he reportedly believed that there had been some sort of mistake with his address and that the correct delivery address. Unfortunately, the food kept arriving, sometimes even multiple times in the same day. While he mostly receives pizzas, other fast food items have been included in the order. One day, Langelhem reportedly had 10 different delivery drivers come to his place on the same day.
Who's paying
You used to do
for
that
it?
back in high school. Back when you could order a
yeah,
pizza
I
over the
mean-
phone and pay cash when it got to you.
Oh.
We'd order pizzas
I've heard
from like
of
3, 4, 5 different pizza shops and all have them
Oh my
delivered to just
gosh.
some random address, usually across the street so we can fucking watch it.
I've heard of like NFL players doing that to rookies and shit, and like getting like 200 pizzas delivered to their room that they have to end up paying for.
Oh my
But
gosh.
like, yeah, we know who's paying for that. Who's paying for this shit?
Right.
Whoever the fuck this guy is has invested
a lot of money.
a lot of money, and I say that alone, then that commitment to the prank, makes him a hero.
I mean, it's impressive.
Now, logical question here. Why doesn't he call the pizza shops and tell them to never deliver to that address? If he wants a pizza, just go pick it
Or
up.
find out who it is.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that somebody could now with, technology be pretty easy. Today's technology be pretty easy. But if I were a pizza shop owner or delivery driver or somebody, I would, he called up with that request, I would agree and then not comply. I would continue to deliver shit to his place.
What if it's
I'm
like the
positive he's not
restaurant
paying for
thing?
it. So the pizza shop is just
What if
losing
what?
money on it.
Maybe. But what if it's like one of
Well-
those things where like when you order your pizza, it's like send a pizza to crazy old Joe and you can just like buy one and they send it to their house.
What if it's the pizza delivery shop owner?
What if?
Worst
So many
viral marketing
options.
ploy ever.
Aliens.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of which, I'm watching Starship Troopers You know who I didn't realize is on this fucking movie?
Neil Patrick Harris.
No, I knew that.
That's the only guy
I know everything
his
he's
name,
in.
So.
Big fan.
Rue McClanahan.
Who?
You know who that is? Rue McClanahan? Blanche Devereaux? Come on, guys.
Who?
Golden Girls?
Now
Is she
that
in
I'm
that?
hip with.
Blanche is
Yeah,
on fucking Starship Troopers?
What?
Yeah, she's plays one of the high school biology teacher.
That makes more sense.
I have got to go rewatch Starship Troopers now.
Netflix. Yeah, I think it just came back on Netflix. So yeah, go
Good
check it
shit.
out. Quality movie.
Did any of you watch What We Do in the Shadows yet? It's so
No.
funny. It's
I
so
know, I've
funny. Oh my
It's got
god.
that- Like the original, I think was a movie, and it's got that guy from Flight of the Conchords. You ever see that show?
Yeah, which is also funny.
And yeah, I love that show. But that guy in almost everything else, like in fucking Dinner for Schmucks, he was like
Yeah.
repulsive.
Well, the show is so fucking funny. I just keep watching it and turn it on even when I'm doing stuff in hopes that they think people's watching it and it stays on forever because it makes me laugh so hard.
That's HBO, right?
No, it's I don't know. It's on Hulu. I watch it on Hulu.
Oh no, it's FX. It's FX. That's right. I heard.
FX just renewed It's Always Sunny for another season. And that makes like
Crazy.
15, 16 seasons.
Um,
Longest running
Okay.
comedy show ever or some shit.
Not sure about that. Cosby Show was on for a long time. And if we want to, compare it to the Cosby Show, that's your
Cosby Show
That's
was
in
on for a long
what?
time. Was that a comedy show though? That was a family sitcom kind of. I wouldn't really call it a comedy
okay,
show.
I guess.
Comedy.
Yeah, you're right. Well, it's so like in the realm of TV, I guess it's categorized differently, but generally comedy. I don't know. But yeah, no. I think the Cosby Show and It's Always Sunny is pretty much the same thing because there's that same end result.
Yeah. I mean, nice.
Drugging bitches and
family-oriented,
raping them.
Clean humor. You know.
Totally
Anyway.
family friendly.
With their
Wait,
Or a
what?
Magnum
cucumber.
dong.
I think that I've never heard of Magnum Dong with either of these stories. I think they came out of your head, Mr.
Oh no,
Nine of Wands.
Danny DeVito
Nine
and
of
his
Swords.
Magnum dong.
Okay, my bad. I don't watch. You caught me. I don't watch It's Always Sunny. I have no fucking idea. But I'd imagine that Danny DeVito probably has a dong the size of him.
I
You
bet
think that's his leg?
proportionally, it's ridiculous.
Schwarzenegger got the wrong one, right?
Yes. Yeah, the twins.
Oh, anyway, that reminds me of breaking out of jail, right?
Sure.
Definitely.
We should probably introduce ourselves before we break out.
Who are we?
We are the Higher Minds Podcast. I am Scott.
Dun dun dun. I'm Papa Darby.
I'm Katie.
Hello,
Hooray.
everybody. How are you? I'm not talking to you two. I'm talking to the other people.
We
They
figured.
never answer. Yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
someone
so
Jailbreaks.
Jailbreaks. This came up last week.
Yeah.
And it was a good idea. So we ran with it.
Did anybody listen to the
beans.
EP Worrell episode?
Yeah. Actually, so for the last few weeks, each new episode is like kind of the next day it's released skyrockets to the top, and we're getting a consistently a couple hundred listens every time. So EP World was a pretty good one too.
So
I
we
think hands
tricked a
down our
couple
most
hundred
popular
people
one though.
Army vet wrongfully imprisoned with your clickbaity titles.
You mean the news headline titles that is reporting the factual happenings in the world? Because that shit actually happened. We have it on video.
It is
Video
on video.
proof.
Anyway, Jailbreak. So, we flipped a coin, the 3-sided coin, and decided it's going to be Scott, me, Katie. So Scott,
It's a good thing you still have that Dungeons and Dragons dice set shit. So
For sure.
I know you're making fun of me,
Lucky.
but I do actually.
I want to see
It is in a velvet bag and everything, and there's some pewter ones, and yeah, I got them.
What?
I have to
I
find them.
can't say I'm surprised.
No, nobody's surprised.
Where do you keep it?
I
Whoa,
think
you don't want to know where he keeps it.
My coin purse,
Right next to his cucumber.
My dice purse. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, flashbacks about a cucumber.
What is happening?
Cucumber flashbacks. You ever seen that meme with the dog who's having those flashbacks? That was me just now, but in a garden.
So let's start this off with Dillinger. We were talking about him last week.
D.I. Linger. All right, who's that
John Dillinger. John Hubert Dillinger was born June 22nd, 1903.
guy? And his middle name was Hubert, you said?
Yes.
So kind of like in A Boy Named Sue, he had to be a badass. Because this is like, we're starting off with this one because this is like one of the most badass jailbreaks that I've ever heard of. Like his whole relationship with the media and the cops was very cool. But please continue.
Well, he broke out of jail twice, actually. I'm going to focus on the second one.
Okay.
John Dillinger was an American gangster active during the Great Depression. Where the fuck's my mouse cursor? There we go. He operated with a group of men known as the Dillinger Gang, also known as the Terror Gang.
He was a good jailbreak artist and bank robber. He wasn't very creative at naming shit.
Do gang people back then name their gangs? Or was that the newspaper?
Yeah, I think they do. I think on there's the Jesse James gang. I mean, yeah, I think they do. But I think it's always the name of the leader.
The James Gang.
Yeah, there was what Bonnie and Clyde had a gang that they named. I forget what it's called.
The Bonnie and Clyde.
I don't think it was called Bonnie and Clyde. I don't think so. But it could have been.
So the Dillinger Gang.
That's something we should probably know.
Was accused of, among other crimes, robbing 24 banks. And here's the best part. They robbed 4 police stations.
Oh, damn. See, and that's just another example of history repeating itself.
Dillinger was charged with murder of an East Chicago, Indiana police officer who first shot Dillinger in his bulletproof vest, to which Dillinger turned around and shot him back and killed him. He was not convicted of this crime. However, despite his infamy, it was Dillinger's only homicide charge.
Really? He killed a bunch of people, right?
The media at the time, maybe. That's the only one that they were like,
okay.
Shit. And
I know that, like, he was a hero, like the people's hero, because, like, I think he focused on lawmen and banks and tried not to kill civilians. I'm not really sure. One of them did that, and I think that was him.
This was during the Depression, and he was targeting banks, which a lot of people at the time blamed for the Depression. So he was kind of a folk hero of the day.
And it kind of was their fault.
The media at the time exaggerated accounts of his bravado and colorful personality, making him a bit of a celebrity and stylizing him as a sort of Robin Hood figure, even though he wasn't necessarily.
No, he definitely wasn't.
To the people.
He lived a very, like, flamboyant life. I mean, not even outside of what the papers were. Yes, lavish. Thank you. That's what I meant.
Lavish.
But even outside of what the papers, like, he had nice cars, pretty women, nice clothes, did cool stuff.
Side note here.
Sounds like someone else I know.
Didn't steal from the rich and give it to the poor. He stole from the government and gave it back to the people.
He returned unto the people what belongs to them.
Hashtag taxation is theft.
There's that.
Facts.
So on to the second jailbreak here. I got a lot of this info from the Chicago Daily News articles that were written at the time of the event. So that was kind of cool that this shit was recent enough that we could find news articles on it from the time. Dillinger was captured in Tucson, Arizona on January the 25th, 1934. He was later escorted back to Indiana by Matt Leach, the chief of Indiana State Police, and imprisoned within Crown Point Jail. Chicago Daily News described Dillinger as a, quote, industrious woodcarver, Bible student, bank robber, and murderer. It's quite a resume.
Yeah, that's eclectic. I think that's what they call it.
The
eclectic? Yeah.
Eclectic?
That's what people call me.
I mean, he was a good Christian boy that liked to whittle wood. And rob banks and kill people, apparently.
Boys will be boys.
This does
And
sound like
Katie.
me.
Arr.
The local police boasted to area newspapers that the jail was escape-proof and posted extra guards as a precaution. Sheriff Lillian Hawley is on record saying, quote, I know he's a bad baby and a jailbreaker, but I can
She meant that totally sexually. He's a bad baby.
Yes. So Dillinger escaped from Crown Point's jail on March the 3rd, 1934. So much for escape-proof and being able to handle him.
He's a bad baby.
Lies.
Dillinger was about to stand trial for the murder of the aforementioned East Chicago police officer who had been killed in a shootout when Dillinger and his gang robbed the First Bank of East Chicago in January of 34. Dillinger made his escape from the so-called, quote, strongest jail in Indiana at 9:30 a.m. on a Saturday.
Did you watch Public Enemies for this?
He used a... I watched it years ago. I didn't rewatch it for this one.
I did rewatch it this week, and like during that scene, I don't know how factual it is, but during that scene, he kind of tricks the DA into taking them to that jail where he wanted to be.
There's photos of him, and I think video too, of them with the sheriff and like the jail guards and everything posing for cameras and shit. And they're all buddy and he's leaning on him and shit.
Well, maybe because cops
was a
were just as
celebrity at the time.
affected by the Depression as everybody else. They also blame the banks and shit too. So to them, they you know, he was breaking the law and that was their job to uphold it. But you know, they were kind of cool with him. He was a celebrity. It's kind of like Trump and Clinton taking pictures with Epstein.
He used a...
Ba-dum cha.
He said it.
Dillinger used a wooden pistol
Oh yeah.
carved days before, quote, to the amusement of attendants at the Lake County Jail. So he had shown off this wooden pistol that he whittled. And everybody's like, wow, that's really
Not
good.
only to the amusement of them, but also to the amusement of us and everybody who's listening, because that's pretty fucking cool. Whittled.
Whittle.
Dillinger and 15 other prisoners were doing their morning exercises on the second floor of the jail on the morning of the escape. As two sheriff's deputies distributed soap, Dillinger, quote, stopped his exercises. He had had enough and produced his toy pistol.
Take him up, see? I got some wood, see? I'm not talking about my
The
penis, see?
deputies immediately...
So bad.
Huh?
What is he doing penises today?
Yeah, me and my
No,
penis.
it's not just today. It's like every episode.
It kind of goes everywhere with me, honestly. It's like a puppy.
Do you keep it in his sling too?
I do. I have to, or else I step on it. Yeah, sometimes.
You got a leash around it. If it doesn't go where you want it to, you just give it a little yank. and
It's always
it comes
exactly where I
along.
want it.
Oh.
Little choke collar.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well.
So Dillinger produced his wooden pistol. The deputies immediately raised their hands, and the prisoners stood, quote, pop-eyed, albeit appreciative,
Oh,
knowing of Dillinger's, quote, killer instinct.
I'm thinking Popeye like their forearms grew 5 times or something.
Spinach.
Yeah.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
But
Me
that's
too.
not what you meant. You meant their eyes were popping out of their skull.
Yes. The two deputies called for the guards on the main floor, who also immediately surrendered. After rounding up everybody, including the warden, Everyone was locked inside the main bullpen, with the exception of one deputy and one other prisoner, an alleged murderer named Hubert Youngblood.
They're all sitting in there in the cell,
Fucking
like,
awesome name for an alleged murder.
yeah.
Right?
They're all sitting in their cell talking to each other. Man, that Dillinger's got some great wood, doesn't he?
I wonder if he whittles that.
Dillinger offered
It's
to
not
take
whittle at
another
all.
cellmate,
Ha!
Henry.
It's so
He
bad.
did paint it black with shoe polish, though. So
You got to. You got to. I mean,
Did it make it look bigger? Ooh,
changed it
funny.
from a 22 to a 45 overnight.
Boom.
Tupac over here. Anyway.
Dillinger offered to take along another cellmate, Henry Jellimek, but he refused the offer, stating, quote, "Nothing doing, big boy, you're too hot," meaning that if he escaped with Dillinger, he was for sure going to get caught.
That's not at all what he meant. He's like, that wood is hot, and I'm a little horny, and I'm just going to stay here and take care of it.
Whittle this.
Ah!
To which Dillinger reportedly called him a punk for chickening out.
Little bitch.
Punk.
After getting his hands on a pair of machine guns, Dillinger, along with his hostage and Youngblood, entered the garage, where he reportedly asked the floorman, quote, "Hey lad, what's the fastest car on the joint?" The floorman pointed to the Lake County Sheriff Lillian Holly's Ford, and they stole her car. So not only did he escape jail, he stole a pair of machine guns and the sheriff's car on the way out.
Metal as fuck. John Dillinger. Cool. He must have been a blast to hang out with.
I bet he was a good fun time.
Yeah.
Fucking stealing cars, machine guns, and robbing banks and shit. Whittling cool toys.
Spending all of that money like in a night.
All the honeys.
Dillinger, Youngblood, the deputy, and the floorman got into the car. He told the deputy to take the wheel, and the four drove right out of Ground Point and headed west towards Illinois. The two hostages were dropped off in Peatone unharmed. Dillinger and Youngblood were reported being seen at 159th Street below Chicago, speeding eastward later that afternoon. So, after they were free, they're out hot rodding in this Ford that was the sheriff's personal car. Dillinger's choice of car, however, proved to be his fatal mistake, as it was the first federal law he broke. Crossing state lines with a stolen car brought federal heat down on Dillinger.
And
this is before the FBI. It was just the Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
And this kind of gave them the steam they needed to form the FBI.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that Dillinger used the fact that cops and local law aren't allowed to cross state lines to his advantage. He'd like rob banks around the state borders and then quickly get away in the other state lines. And because of that,
Right.
they did change the laws to make that a federal crime and then turned into the FBI eventually.
Got him.
About 5 months after his escape, the feds gunned Dillinger down as he was exiting the Biograph Theater in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of sucks. The way that they get these guys is kind of bitch ass. But I mean, that's what war is like, I guess. So, I mean, you got to take every advantage. And they really do. Like, Bonnie and Clyde, fucked up how they took them out, too.
Yeah, they shot the fuck out of them. Dillinger was hit twice.
Oh, really?
Like, in movies and shit, it shows them shooting the fuck out of him, especially the old movies. Not so much in Public Enemy.
No,
But
I think
the older
Public Enemy
movies
was...
showed a big old shootout.
Yeah, and I think that's...
But he was only actually hit twice.
Did he have some sort of premonition about it, too, like reported by somebody else?
That I don't know.
Maybe I'm making that shit up. Maybe I'm thinking of Abraham Lincoln. I know that he... You know, we should do that story.
Sic Semper Tyrannis.
Except that I'm on Lincoln's side with in that story. Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you all about it in that episode. Anyway, Yeah, didn't he get shoot like under the eye and like in the chest or something?
He was shot in the back and it exited near his eye.
Oh, okay.
I think is what it was.
Okay. Yeah, because they show that pretty clearly in the movie.
Yeah, I think he was shot once in the chest, if I remember right, and then he turned to run, and was kind of stooped over and shot in the back, and it exited out near his, I think it was his right eye.
Okay. Well, he how old was he when he died? Did you catch that?
What was it?
About, I mean,
born.
He didn't reach middle age, or at least old age.
He was born in 1903 and died in 1934, so he was 31.
Jeez, yeah. So barely middle age.
I don't think the 30s is really middle aged.
I think your mom's middle aged.
My mother is middle aged.
That's what I said.
She's in her 50s.
That's what I said.
That's like post middle age, really.
Bonnie and Clyde.
So what the fuck did you cover? Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah. So I thought that this story was with Clyde Barrow in prison, and they were breaking him out. I was mistaken about that because in the movie The Highwayman was my initial inspiration. I did further research into it. Clyde is being broken out, and Bonnie is the one that's, well, I'll show you, but that's not true. They were both out. They were breaking out friends, and it was actually revenge on the prison that it was more about the revenge on the prison that they busted these guys out than busting these guys out.
Do you get into Clyde's foot at all?
His foot?
Yeah.
No.
He was in, I don't know if it was jail or prison, and was chopping wood and chopped like his toes off or some shit.
Oh, I had heard about that, yeah.
To be able to get medically released from prison early.
Yeah. And about, a bum leg, towards the end of her life, Bonnie also had a bum leg from a car accident. She was kind of dragging it around. I don't get into that either because that's not really part of this. But so I got this from historynet.com from an article called Bonnie and Clyde's Revenge on Eastham. And this is pretty much a full not quite full, but a full retelling of that article, because I can't really, it's a good story and I can't really do a better job than them. They do a pretty good job. So I'm just going to tell you that one. So Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow sat in their Ford V8 coupe on a quiet Tuesday country road on Saturday evening, January 13th, 1934. They were waiting for Floyd Hamilton and an ex-convict named Jimmy Mullins to return. The two men had slipped through the barbed wire perimeter surrounding Eastham Prison Farm, part of the Texas prison system, to hide an old inner tube beneath a drainage culvert near the prison's Camp 1. Inside the tube were 2 Colt 45 automatics and several filled magazines, placed there in preparation for a jailbreak planned for January 16th. At one point, the camp dogs started howling and barking in their kennels, but the guards paid no attention. Hamilton and Mullins rejoined Bonnie and Clyde a few minutes later. Barrow then drove to Dallas and dropped off Hamilton, but he kept Mullins in the car so he could keep an eye on him. He did not trust Mullins. Floyd Hamilton returned to Eastham the following day for his regular bi-weekly visit with his younger brother Raymond, who was serving 266 years in prison. Who was serving 266 years in prison for auto theft, armed robbery, and murder. During that visit, Floyd filled Raymond in on the details of the proposed prison break. On Monday, an inmate named Aubrey Skelly set out to retrieve the weapons. Skelly was a building tender, a trusty position that allowed him to move about the prison with a certain amount of freedom. He managed to smuggle the inner tube into the Camp 1 dormitory and deliver it to Joe Palmer. Palmer, serving 25 years for robbery, hid the inner tube and its contents in its mattress. Other sources swear that the guns were hidden in one of the brush piles Eastham work squads would clear the next day. The Netflix movie The Highwayman, which I referred to earlier, with Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner, suggested that was what happened. But they also got the prison break wrong, so yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Hollywood's always accurate, so.
It's on TV, it's the truth.
It's on the internet for sure. I read it too.
So are we. So, I guess we are telling the truth here.
Facts.
Yeah.
Only.
You can find us on the internet.
Nothing but facts from this show. Our listeners know that.
I have it written down in black and white. Facts. Anyway.
Me too.
Anyway, word that the break would take place the following morning reached the two other prisoners who would take part. Henry Methvin, serving 10 years for robbery and attempted murder, and a killer named Hilton Bybee. 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 I like to think it was ancestor of Justin Bieber who escaped to Canada and made him, and that's why he's such an awful person. Tuesday.
I like Bebe, like from South Park.
Bebe. Well, that's from Bebe's Kids from the 80s. Do you remember that? We don't die, we multiply. Bebe's Kids. Bebe's Kids. No, nothing. Okay.
What the fuck are you talking?
What the fuck are you? Your fucking mom.
Damn, you're old. You're so goddamn old sometimes.
You know that because he said like 3 your mom jokes already.
Doesn't get old. Doesn't get old. Everybody loves your mom jokes. Your mom's cool too. Anyway.
She is.
Tuesday, January 16th, dawn damp and chilly. A thick fog rising from the nearby Trinity River blanketed the countryside south of Camp 1. Parker, Barrow, and Mullins waited in a thickly wooded area on the edge of a country road. By the dim, filtered light of early morning, they could see a clearing in the trees to the north just beyond a creek that cut across the road. Barrow and Mullins got out of the car and walked toward the clearing. Parker stayed in the vehicle. Barrow carried a Browning automatic rifle capable of firing a 20-round clip of 30-06 armor-piercing shells in less than 3 seconds. You ever seen one of those? I'm not big into guns or anything.
Was it a clip or was it a magazine?
I'm assuming I don't know. I don't know anything about
or
guns.
Are they clips that feed into a magazine?
I have no clue. What's a gun?
They're made out of wood and are covered in shoe polish.
I heard you whittled them.
Yes, yeah, you whittle.
They're whittled. But yeah, I saw a picture of one of these. It looks pretty impressive.
And that's what they used in World War II, too. So,
is it?
I think. I may be wrong. This is the 30s. Don't quote me on that. Yeah.
Yeah, not World War II.
I'm pretty sure I'm full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, this was 34, so yeah, not World War II. Maybe World War I, but no, not World War I either. Yeah. Anyway.
They were used by cops and gangsters.
Well, see, okay, so the thing is, these Bonnie and Clyde and the Barrow Gang, that's what it was called, the Barrow Gang.
Again,
so the Barrow Gang had all these super... What's that?
Again, that's a very original name. Just a name again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, whatever. Anyway, they had super impressive weapons. Like they had this BAR. They had these 45s and everything. And the cops that they were going against had these little 22 piece shooters and shit. And like only 6 shooters. I mean, and this guy's shooting out 20 rounds in 3 seconds. That's part of the reason they got away with so much is they just overpowered the cops everywhere. Because it was the time when the cops weren't militarized.
Days.
Huh? Yeah.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Where things were even.
When cops had to arm themselves, yeah.
You used to be able to order machine guns through catalogs and have them delivered to your house.
And this one, if I recall from, I think last podcast on the left too, they're friends of the show. They talk about us all the time. They mentioned something about him having sawed it down too. So it's totally illegal now, but it fit in
easier
a suitcase.
Wield, but less accurate.
Which you don't need to be accurate with it. I mean, it's a fucking
no. When you're close range, I guess you don't.
No. Well, even at long range, you see that coming at you, and you're just shooting with the little pea shooter. Yeah, you're gonna slow down a little bit.
Oh crap!
And besides, they were driving around a Ford V8, which was at the time was one of the fastest street cars. In a famous letter from Clyde Barrow to John Ford, he praised it, and like that letter was published or some shit.
John Ford?
John Ford? Not John Ford. Henry Ford. Henry Ford. My bad. Your mom Ford. Ford, baby.
Flathead Ford V8 with open headers is to this day one of my favorite sounding engines.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Good. We're all in agreement.
All right. So 2 men crashed along the...
Flathead Ford for the win.
Yep. Mhm. I love head.
I think we all do.
The two men crouched along the creek bank and waited. Through the morning haze, they detected movement, followed by voices and the sound of tools and horses. Two work crews of prisoners combined because of staff shortages, slowly moved towards Barrow and Mullins, spreading out and getting down to the business of clearing the brush piles in preparation for spring planting and cutting wood to stoke the camp stoves. Among the workers were Hamilton and Palmer, both of them armed, and both of them aware of who was waiting not far away, Bonnie and Clyde. In the span of 18 months, starting in the summer of 1932, Bonnie and Clyde had become inseparable and somewhat legendary as dangerously tenacious and wily fugitives. But by the time the couple arrived at Eastham on that January morning in 1934, Barrow had shot his way out of numerous confrontations and had been linked to the deaths of 5 lawmen and several civilians. So there's not so much good guys. They did kill civilians who got in their way. They reportedly regretted those, but still, these aren't good guys. They kind of got what they deserved in the end.
I had heard that Bonnie hated that the most famous picture of her was the one where she was smoking a cigar, because she didn't actually smoke a cigar. She just held it for the photo.
Right. And
so she's not a bad bitch.
Apparently she was actually. Yeah.
Well, she's still a bad bitch.
Yeah.
Well, she's a bad bitch with healthy lungs.
Well, apparently she was like super vain too, and like she grew up as like a princess type, and she was always super pretty and stuff, and so that picture itself does. Whereas it played well into the papers, was not her personality.
Gotcha.
Texan Clyde Barrow was born near Tellico in 1910. According to the Barrow family Bible, Bonnie Parker was born the same year in Rowena, Texas. The pair met in early 1930 at a home of a mutual friend in West Dallas. Bonnie, blue-eyed, small and slim with reddish blonde hair and a good sense of humor, immediately caught Clyde's eye. Bonnie, in turn, was attracted to the 5'6", dark-haired, headstrong young man. So, keep in your head that Clyde is 5'6", not a tall guy, but super confident and like good-looking and charming. They began seeing each other regularly. Barrow was already heavily involved in an interstate crime ring, and within a few weeks, police arrested him at Bonnie's home. He was subsequently sentenced to 14 years in the Texas State Penitentiary for 2 counts of burglary and 5 counts of auto theft. After a few months in Huntsville prison, Barrow was transferred to the 13,040-acre Eastham prison on the Trinity River, 20 miles north of Huntsville. And this is why he decided to break these guys out, and it was more about revenge than getting these guys out. Barrow called Eastham that hellhole, and for good reason. He saw prisoners beaten by guards, stuffed in tin sweat boxes under the blazing sun, and murdered, sometimes for the $25 reward for the captured of escaped prisoners, or other times revenge. So they would let prisoners out, get a reward going for them, and then kill them and get that reward.
It's an easy way to make
good way to get gas money. It's $25. Yeah. Take your kids out to the movie or something. Yeah. Well, I mean, we are talking about 1910, so that is several $100. There were also reports that the guards would often rape the inmates. Clyde, being diminutive and a pretty man, was often the victim of these cops that got what's coming to him. So yeah. It made Barrow so angry that he immediately began conspiring.
What was the groan?
I don't like.
That's what it sounds like when a man gets it up the butt.
And I'll still make that noise because I still feel that weird.
It's like reverse pooping.
That's gross.
Yeah. Anyway, it made Barrow so angry that he immediately began conspiring with another prisoner, 19-year-old Ralph Fultz, to one day get out of prison, raise a gang, and return to Eastham. I'd like to shoot all of these damn guards and turn everybody loose, he told Fultz. Along the way, the two men decided to break out buddies Palmer and Methvin, who were also housed in Eastham. Bybee, who arrived later at Eastham, was added to the conspiracy as a favor to Fultz. Raymond Hamilton wasn't even in the picture initially, but that would soon change. Due to prison overcrowding, Fultz and Barrow received conditional pardons in August 1931, which is probably what you were talking about too, with him cutting his toes off, and February 1932, respectively. They met up again in West Dallas and began recruiting a gang for the prison raid, first approaching a friend of Barrow's, 18-year-old fugitive Raymond Hamilton. At first, he agreed to take part, but after the men staged several successful robberies to finance the raid, Hamilton took his cut and backed out. "I don't care about no con and no prison farm," he said. On April 19th, 1932, Fultz was shot and captured during a gun battle in Kaufman County, Texas. Bonnie Parker was captured too, but Barrow escaped. Fultz pleaded guilty to auto theft and armed robbery in exchange for Bonnie's release. Bonnie, still an unknown, was set free and quickly rejoined Clyde. Fultz once again returned to prison. That summer, Raymond Hamilton briefly rejoined Barrow. He was arrested in December and began serving a lengthy prison term at Eastham. Barrow held a grudge against Hamilton for backing out in the proposed Eastham raid, and the irony of Hamilton's incarceration there no doubt struck the sometimes laconic Clyde as funny. As Christmas came and went, Barrow's thoughts turned again to the idea of raiding Eastham. Someone else was thinking about the raid to Eastham inmate Raymond Hamilton. A 48-year-old, 8-time loser named Jimmy Mullins, about to finish a 3-year sentence for burglary, bucked next to Hamilton at Eastham. Raymond promised Mullins $1,000 payable after his escape if he would find Barrow, and arranged to have a number of weapons planted in the prison farm compound. Once released on January 10th, 1934, Mullins went immediately to Floyd Hamilton's West Dallas home to ask for help locating Barrow. Floyd had a clean record at the time, but he listened to the plan. Later that same day, he took Mullins to meet with Bonnie and Clyde. Excuse me.
What are you drinking that's that color?
Water with squirty stuff. Yeah.
He does enjoy his squirty stuff.
I like it in my mouth.
Hence the choking and coughing.
Tastes like butter. Salty butter.
Look. Wait. Either way, I'm concerned.
Barrow hesitated about getting involved. Something bothered him. Jimmy Mullins. Barrow had known Mullins in prison and remembered him as an unreliable and unpredictable drug addict and stool pigeon. Looking at Mullins, Barrow could think of only one thing. He was being led into a trap. Finally, he agreed to help with the raid, only if Mullins took part. It's a trap!
Yes.
It's a trap!
It's a trap!
Where the fuck was I? Okay, fine. Yeah, so he agreed. He said, "I'll help you out, but Mullins..." That's where it was. "I'll help you out, but I want Mullins to plant the guns himself," Barrow declared. Mullins stiffened. I'm not doing it alone," he said. Turning to Floyd, he demanded, "You're coming with me." Floyd reluctantly agreed. Then late in the evening, January 13th, 1934, Bonnie and Clyde dropped off Hamilton and a trembling Mullins less than a mile from the main prison compound at Eastham's Camp No. 1. 3 days later, Barrow and Mullins were waiting in the early morning fog for the prison break to begin. The routine at Eastham was that a group of guards, collectively called the Shotgun Gang, oversaw each work squad, while a long-arm man, guard on horseback, armed with a high-powered rifle, positioned himself at a distance from the detail. According to the instructions of Colonel Lee Simmons, general manager of the Texas prison system, the mounted guard had no duty except to stay well clear of the convicts. Duty. Stay well clear of the convicts and be in the background, ready with his Winchester in case of excitement. Should a convict break past the shotgun ring, the long-arm man would pick him off. That's the way it was supposed to work. Prisoners Raymond Hamilton and Joe Palmer knew that one of Eastham's more notorious long-arm men, Major Croson, Major was his given name, not a title, routinely... Can you imagine calling somebody fucking Major? Can you imagine calling a baby Major? Oh, little Major. Like,
I'm for sure gonna name a kid like King.
Yeah. Like, saluting a little toddler. No.
King Shackleford. I think it sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. So, Major Croson routinely disregarded the policy. Croson had a reputation for leaving his post to beat prisoners. In fact, Palmer had once received a severe beating from Croson.
Is Queen Latifah's real
I
name?
don't think so.
Google it.
It's like Papa
To the interwebs. You keep reading.
in Papa Darby. Papa's not my real name. Did you know?
Papa?
Papa.
No, that's not
Papa
either,
Darby.
actually. Neither one is my real name. Shocking. On the morning of the break, Raymond Hamilton jumped squads, meaning that he left his 16-man work crew and joined the crew that included Palmer, Bybee, and Methvin.
Bybee.
Guard Olin Bozeman assigned to Palmer. It's okay. Palmer squad noticed Hamilton's presence even before the inmates
Fucking
started.
Latifah isn't even
For
her
the
real
My
name.
life
fields
is
from
a
camp number
lie.
1. No. No.
Yeah, I don't know where the fuck Queen Latifah came from. It's
Dana Elena,
Elaine
is that what
Owens.
you just said?
Elaine.
Oh.
Dana Elaine.
Like, I would have
Owens.
rolled with Dana Elena.
She's not Queen or Latifah.
Was she
What the
like-
fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
Straight out of Compton
pretty OG.
is what she said in that one movie. What was it?
Prince's real name was Prince, though. So
Oh, really?
give his mom.
I did.
credit
I
on
actually
that.
did know a
Yeah.
Prince when I was growing up, but that was in the ghetto. So.
Prince Rogers Nelson.
Oh, really, Nelson?
Nelson.
Anyway, so guard Olin Bozeman assigned to Palmer's squad noticed Hamilton's presence even before the inmates started for the fields from Camp 1. Hamilton and Palmer suspected that that would happen, but figured Bozeman would delay taking any action until he was in the field. Once there, out of the earshot of the main camp, he would probably summon Croson to help him deal with Hamilton. Sure enough, Bozeman called Croson over as soon as the work crews arrived in the field. As the two guards conversed, Palmer strolled up to them as if he wanted to ask a question. Instead, he pulled out a weapon. Don't you boys try to do anything, he said. There are conflicting reports about what happened next. Some witnesses said Palmer deliberately shot Croson for revenge. Others claim Croson fired the first shot. Another source quoted Palmer as saying, "I told the guards to sit still, don't move, and there won't be no shooting. I really thought the guards would stick their hands up." Regardless, at some point, Palmer shot Croson in the stomach. Mortally wounded, the guard turned his horse around and rode back to Camp 1 to sound the alarm. Palmer then fired at Bozeman, but missed. Bozeman pulled a pistol and returned fire, but his bullet only creased Palmer's temple. Palmer fired again. This time the bullet struck Bozeman's holstered shotgun and sliced deeply into his hip. Bozeman and his mangled weapon fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Raymond Hamilton was fumbling around in the mud. In the excitement, he had accidentally ejected the magazine from his own weapon. Which is why you practice. At that point, Clyde Barrow, still concealed in the nearby creek, stood up and fired a volley from his automatic rifle over the heads of everyone in the field. So, picture it. There's two different open fields separated by a bunch of trees that you can't really see very well through, and he's in the opposite field shooting up at like the birds and shit, trying to get everybody to duck, except for the people that know what's going on, who end up running towards the gunfire, which nobody else does. Kind of a good plan. In the movie, they have Bonnie doing that.
Could you imagine getting shot at and it grazing your temple? I'd buy a fucking lottery ticket. Right
Fuck yeah,
there.
I would feel like God, man. Like, I would run straight at that motherfucker. Where was I? So at that point, concealed in the field. So in the Highwaymen, that's Clyde is one of the prisoners. Anyway, guards and prisoners alike dive for cover. Back in the car, Bonnie Parker leaned on the horn to signal the escaping men. So gunfire and a car horn. Palmer, Hamilton, Methvin, and Bybee began running south towards the sound. Two guards ran away, completely deserting their posts and Bozeman. They were found hiding 500 yards from their squads. Only one guard, Bobby Bullard, stood his ground, perhaps preventing a mass escape. The first man to raise his head will have it blown clear off, he shouted. So there's a bunch of other prisoners who also duck at the sound of the gunfire coming at them, and he's still standing, only one arm, so he's keeping them calm. Nevertheless, one other convict managed to flee. J.B. French, serving time for robbery, attempted murder, and auto theft, ducked into the underbrush until things quieted down, then slipped into the woods. Guards recaptured him shortly after midnight. French knew nothing of the escape plan and didn't even meet these responsible for his brief taste of freedom. Police later recovered the escape car from a ravine 10 miles northeast of Hugo, Oklahoma, shortly after the robbery of a nearby filling station. By then, Croson had died from his wound.
That's why you don't let the woman drive.
Well, that was the plan, though. I mean, they did that was their MO. They would always just steal a car and drive it across state lines and go rob stuff. And they did a big loop. I want to say it was Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. They did that big circle there.
Hmm.
And they were mostly on the run, too. Like, their life kind of really sucked. So by then, Croson had died from his wounds, and state officials were publicly questioning the prudence of placing convicts like Raymond Hamilton and the other escapees on a prison farm so accessible to the likes of Bonnie and Clyde. Lee Simmons, profoundly embarrassed by the raid, responded by firing the two Eastham guards who fled under fire. He also told at least they're not pushing down 79-year-old men and making them bleed from the ears.
Oof.
So he also told
or walking past said 7-year-old man who's bleeding from the ears, who was just pushed down.
Protecting and serving, right?
Hashtag ACAM.
He also told the dying Major Croson that he would be resettling accounts. Those fellows had their day. We'll have ours. I promise I won't let them get away with it. It didn't take officials long to decide that Bonnie and Clyde were behind the break. It is just a natural conclusion that it was Raymond, as in Raymond Hamilton's former partner, said Simmons. And if Barrow was there, then Bonnie could not have been far away. And of course, he was right. Hilton Bybee was recaptured on January 30th, 1934, 2 weeks after the break. In 1937, he escaped again from Eastham. Later that year, an Arkansas posse shot and killed him. Raymond Hamilton and Joe Palmer were recaptured separately and returned to prison. Palmer was tried and convicted of the murder of Major Croson. Hamilton was tried as an habitual criminal. Both men were sentenced to death. A habitual criminal?
Habitual.
Anyway, Jimmy Mullins was the state's key witness against Palmer, and Hamilton received immunity from prosecution. What? Mother bitch. But in 1938, a judge sentenced him to 75 years in prison for a $36 holdup. Damn. That's a sentence. But he shouldn't be doing that. I mean, don't rob people, honestly. These aren't good guys. These aren't heroes. This is a good story. So, on July 22nd, 1934, Hamilton and Parker escaped from Huntsville's death house, creating nationwide headlines and further embarrassing Lee Simmons and the Texas prison system. The embarrassment was short-lived, however, for both fugitives were both recaptured and returned to Huntsville. On May 10th, in 1935, they died in the electric chair. Floyd Hamilton received 2 years in Leavenworth Prison for harboring Bonnie and Clyde. After his release, he embarked on a bank robbing spree. In 1938, the police captured him in Dallas. Floyd was tried, convicted, and sentenced to 55 years in prison. In 1940, he was transferred to Alcatraz, where he tried to escape. The attempted jailbreak cost him 9 years in solitary confinement. God damn, 9 years in solitary confinement. Whew. In 1958, after being incarcerated for 20 years, Hamilton was released from prison. Half of that was in solitary confinement. Damn. For Bonnie and Clyde, the Eastham break meant the beginning of the end. On February 1st, 1934, 17 days after Croson's death, Simmons met with Frank Hamer, a tough 49-year-old retired Texas Ranger, played by Kevin Costner in The Highwayman. I want you to put Clyde and Bonnie on the spot and then shoot everyone in sight, he told Hamer. Simmons then told the ex-lawman he had been commissioned as a state highway patrolman. Hamer took to the road within 10 days. Before long, he was on his way to Bienville Parish, Louisiana, Louisiana was also part of that circle, where Henry Methvin's parents lived. There, Hamer met with the local sheriff, Henderson Jordan. The sheriff told Hamer that an intermediary named John Joyner had approached him on or about March 1st to let him know that in exchange for a pardon from the state of Texas, Henry Methvin would deliver Bonnie and Clyde to the authorities. Sheriff Jordan soon delivered a pardon agreement to Joyner. On May 21st, Joyner contacted Hamer with the ambush details. Henry Methvin would Henry Method would find some pretext to part company with Bonnie and Clyde, knowing that the outlaws would plan to rejoin him at his parents' home. Hamer and 5 other law enforcement officers would hide in the side of the graded road leading to the Methvin's house and wait for Bonnie and Clyde to drive up. After 2 days of waiting on May 23rd, 1934, at about 9:10 a.m., Hamer's team heard the steady roar of a rapidly moving vehicle. They knew that only Bonnie and Clyde would hurtle along a countryside road at such speed. As the tan Ford V8 sedan approached, but Bob Alcorn, the only officer who could identify Barrow on side, called out quietly, "It's him, boys. That's it. That's Clyde." He added insurance. As added insurance, Henry's father also signaled his recognition of the fugitives. The officers opened up with a deadly fusillade. When the shooting stopped, Bonnie and Clyde were dead. Both had been shot more than 50 times. An Oklahoma court later tried and sentenced Methvin to the death for the killing of police officer Cal Campbell, a murder Methvin committed after making the pardon agreement. The court commuted a sentence to life, however, then when officials disclosed Methvin's part in the Bonnie and Clyde ambush. In April 49, after Methvin's release from prison, an unknown person knocked him unconscious and placed him in a Louisiana railroad truck. A passing train cut the informer in half.
Gosh.
That's the end of my part.
Well, it's pretty crazy.
Cutting motherfuckers in half for snitching. That snitch didn't get stitches.
Nah, opposite.
They didn't bother. Yeah.
He was doing some sweet drumming.
Drumming?
Do you hear it?
No.
Oh.
What?
Maybe it's me.
Are you drumming? So,
You're fucking losing.
Possibly.
Aren't you?
escaping from Alcatraz.
Yes. So, June 62. Frank Morris was kind of the mastermind behind it, and then him and 2 brothers, John and Clarence Anglin, maybe, and then Alan West, but he messed things up and didn't get to go. So it's just the 3 of them.
Sad face.
Yeah, he did. In the movie, he cried a lot. He looked like a little bitch. So
He probably got a couple stitches.
well, he definitely snitched, so he deserved them if he did. So Frank, both his parents died, foster kid, troubled, in and out of jail, armed robbery, narcotics, breaking and entering. He had escaped previously from the Louisiana State Penitentiary, recaptured a year later, and that's when he was sent to Alcatraz. And then the brothers were from Ruskin, Florida. That's where we get all of our stuff for our business. And they worked the farm growing up, picking tomatoes and getting into trouble at night. And then they went up to Michigan and became cherry pickers. So that's kind of funny. And they just kind of robbed things at night. They didn't really want to hurt anyone or anything like that. But the one time they did, they used a toy gun, which kind of was funny because y'all talking about whittled guns. And they were sent to Alcatraz because of their many attempts to escape other prisons. So,
Because Alcatraz was known as a fortified, like one of the most fortified prison in America, I believe.
little,
Like next to Sing Sing or something.
yeah, like a little island, lots of choppy water, yada yada.
Isn't Sing Sing also an island in New York?
I honestly don't
Am I
know.
wrong about that? I don't know that either.
No, I don't
No?
think so.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think Alcatraz was like the only maximum security on an island.
Okay.
Super fucking expensive. That's why they closed
Yeah,
it.
the
You gotta
salt water.
Ship everything in and out.
And they said the damage to the building from the salt water was not worth it.
And it was originally Native American, so it was like supercharged with supernatural energy, and now it's haunted.
Well, did you guys watch that show that came out? Is that what you're talking about? I'm trying to remember how long ago
I've seen shows that come out. Yeah, I don't know what
I'm
you're
sorry, I
talking
will
about.
tell more about it. It is where they did experiments on these inmates, and these experiments then kept them that same like age, and so some of them broke free. It was obviously a made up show, but it was really interesting. And like some of them went on to be like career killers and leave lives, but then they obviously never aged, and so they were like on to the next. It was interesting, but every episode was about another person's story from their tortured experiments of Alcatraz.
That sounds like
I was
Luke
in San
Cage.
Francisco a couple years ago for a little bit, and I went across the bridge, and you can see Alcatraz and everything there. The X-Men movie is full of shit. There's no way in hell that bridge could reach that island.
But it's Magneto. Magneto can do it. You're a fucking hater, so fuck you.
He just stretched it
It's fucking Magneto.
like a lot.
He had that little like marble of metal that he used as a walking platform and as a weapon and shit. Yeah, Magneto can do it. Yeah.
That was the most unbelievable part of that movie.
The more you know. So previous.
I just can't with you. I just can't.
Y'all, listen to me talk about these previous attempts. There was 36 inmates who staged 14 attempts over the 29 years that they were open. 23 of them were recaptured. 6 were shot and killed on the spot. 2 drowned and the bodies were recovered. And there was 5 that were reported drowned, aka missing. They never found. 3 of which were these fellas here. So 2 others may have broke out and got free. I mean, they never found bodies.
DB Cooper.
It was creepy experiments.
DB Cooper broke out, went and stole some money from a bank, and then hijacked a plane, and then jumped out into a forest, and now is living as Jared Kushner.
Well.
Jared Kushner is DB Cooper? Is that what I just understood? Okay.
Yeah. You understand that? See,
you heard it here
You
first.
heard it here first.
Yes.
This is true news here, so.
It's on the internet. We already went through this.
Black and white. All right. So here's the big old plan. They were widening the vent ducts underneath their sinks.
Are you laying in a bathtub with pillows?
Yeah, man.
Is that what I'm seeing
They
here?
really are. Do you want to see more? All my conditioners, soaps.
Oh,
Is that like the only
brilliant.
place you can get away from the kids is in
Hell
the bathroom?
yeah, man. I'm really trying for y'all.
You are the only one ever to make a bathtub studio.
Boom, boom. I almost thought about like knocking 2 birds. I'm like, I could take a bath. Like, this could be like my thing. I could just be here taking like the best bubble bath, reading my paper, laughing.
So we can record you being electrocuted.
I mean,
that would get good ratings, I guess.
why would I get electrocuted?
Can we get your permission that if we do like record you getting electrocuted, we can use that for our benefit?
Well, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm not cheering for it. I hope you don't get
I
electrocuted.
don't know why I would. I sit and play games on my phone when I'm in the bathtub all the time.
Okay, yeah. Don't.
Anywho, I was like, how do we even get about
We'll
this?
talk to you about that.
Listen, all because you asked about my pillows and bathtub. I'm just trying to do my job, man.
Well, I mean, you got pillows in a fucking bathtub. I mean, is that crazy to ask about?
I don't know. Maybe there's a tornado you know nothing about, and I'm just seeking shelter.
There's a
What?
tornado! Quick, get the
There
pillows!
was
Put 'em in the
yesterday.
bathtub!
Yeah, if I'm gonna be in here, I'm gonna be comfortable.
I love that part in Twister where everybody just goes and gets pillows and like just tosses them in the bathtub. That's the best part of that movie.
I'm gonna punch you in the face. Okay. So,
Okay.
they were widening these vents. At first he was using clippers. That's what the movie said. That part might not be true, honestly. But they found saw blades on the floor because some of them worked in the shop portion of the jail. Spoons they stole from the mess hall, and then a drill they made from pieces of a vacuum. So that's kind of interesting. In the movie, it was a fan that he stole and then used an extension cord and like kind of gumshoed a little drill together.
I mean, a motor's a motor.
Yeah, I mean, a fan
It's
seems
like-
more feasible to steal than a vacuum cleaner taking it apart somehow and then hiding the parts.
This is like 1960s vacuum cleaners too.
Little Hoover.
With bigger bigger, easier to manipulate parts. But what I keep on thinking about is, you know how stoners are like super creative with getting their weed smokable? Like, this is them, but without the fucking weed.
So just
If
MacGyver.
stoners focus their engineering abilities on things other for making things to smoke out of, could you imagine what we could accomplish?
All right. So they just diligently were working on these holes, just making it big enough to get through, because their 4 cells were like adjacent. So they also knew each other from previous jails. So just more fun facts.
And they named their cell Jason. Is that what she said?
Nope.
I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding.
I
I'm
was
kidding.
like, nope.
Just one of them. Jason.
Jason.
Oh.
Funny.
There was a Michael, a Larry, and a Super.
I would name them Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. That's what I would do.
I'm pretty positive this is before the Ninja Turtles.
So you would have been
The Ninja Turtles is always. The Ninja Turtles are forever. They're infinite.
infinite.
Everything is Ninja Turtles, and Ninja Turtles is everything. Just so you know.
Now we do.
And they only ever made 3 live-action movies and never did it again.
As the 90s said, don't get it twisted.
Okay.
Radical.
Rad. Tubular. Okay, so I couldn't control it. I couldn't. It just came out. So one of the guys, Alan West, he requested some paint supplies to paint in his cell, and he was actually painting pieces of cardboard to match the paint of the walls and the baseboard to cover their little chip away spots.
Fucking Shawshank style.
Yes.
He was great at like hyper realism painting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't nothing too real about 2 squares of color, but it was enough, the color matched enough that at a first glance at night, they didn't see that it wasn't stone.
See, that's another example of fucking Stephen King stealing a fucking story for his own benefit. The first one was The Shining, which we all know is about any time Rush Limbaugh stays at a hotel.
You wild. So they, to disguise the sound of chipping and drilling and yada yada yada, your boy Frank played the accordion at night and said that was just when he practiced, because they had like a music hour before lights out kind of a deal. So
Whoa, hold on,
would
your
be
boyfriend.
fucking terrible. But jail next to somebody who plays an accordion is cruel and unusual.
Maybe he was really good.
Really? I can like imagine.
Have you ever heard a really good
scene?
accordion?
Yeah, man.
Do you remember that scene from fucking the 3rd Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones.
Anyway,
3.
so
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, thank you. That scene in The Last Crusade where he's with Dr. What's-Her-Face and they're banging in Venice and there's that accordion playing. That's kind of what I'm picturing, but like prison style, which is less pleasant.
I
Like the banging
pictured
part.
like Rage Against the
Different kind of
Machine
banging.
and loud, screamy music. That's what I pictured him playing. So
Accordion?
I'm
Yeah.
thinking
What?
it's like Oktoberfest style polka.
Oh yeah, that would 9 years in solitary listening to that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another story. That was my
Yeah.
story.
So they all kind of had jobs. Frank was kind of like the mastermind of this whole plot and plan. He was the when they tested them, he was in the top 2% for intelligence. Another fun fact. And so the brothers, they worked on stealing raincoats and essentially sewing them together for life jackets and a boat. And this boat ended up being
And they stole a fuck ton of
50
raincoats for this shit.
50 raincoats were stolen.
Why are there even 50 raincoats in
the prison? Other than if they were like laundering
And nobody
them.
noticed 50 raincoats missing?
Yes, I questioned that
Well,
myself.
You've seen Shutter Island, right? Like that shit always gets stormed on, and the guards always have to wear raincoats with the little lanterns and shit all the time.
Maybe, but 50's a lot to go missing before anyone noticed. Because they worked on it for like I mean, a little bit of time. Like, wasn't like they whipped us up overnight.
Yeah, they didn't do this overnight, so.
Yeah.
So this boat was 6 foot by 14 foot. What? Why? Like, it was big, and they blew it up. Like, they had sealed it using, obviously, like, fashioned it with what they had in the prison. So they were using steam to actually seal the plastics together.
Neat.
So
that's pretty genius.
It was pretty cool. And another fun fact.
That's called welting.
Well, it's called badassery.
Worthless knowledge that welting is when you melt plastic together to seal it.
So
That's also when your grandma tells you to get a switch. She's about to welt
pick one. Ooh, that is not what you want to hear.
My grandma was a wooden spoon kind of lady,
so.
No, I got switches.
My mom just talked to you like you were a half-inch tall and ignored you for a week. So who really suffered? Just kidding. It was me.
My mom would give me the wait till your dad gets home.
Oh, that's awful. So another fun fact, Mythbusters actually fashioned a boat using the same materials that they would have had accessible to them in the prison, and then tried to go from like whatever Alcatraz to wherever they were trying to go. And they did it and said it was totally feasible. So it must be true. Mythbusters.
Because it's on the internet.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, like the current pushed them farther away than what they were aiming for, but they did make it to the other side.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. They also said they might have went a completely different direction.
Not?
The only thing that made me question, well, we're not there yet, but they lose a wallet. Why?
All I know is Michael Phelps would not have had a problem at all.
He wouldn't have. You're right. So
hit a bong and swim across the bay.
Now that's a modern day Popeye. Swim.
Magic green stuff and muscles. So your boy Alan West, his cardboard kept falling and he was afraid he was going to get caught. And so he used a little bit of the dry cement and tried to like sure up his cardboard. And it dicked him over because that night when they went for the whole shebang, he couldn't get his little vent shield loose. And so he couldn't go. By the time he got it undone and got through the wall to the other side to meet the guys, they were gone. And so he tried and tried, and then he ended up back in his cell just crying like a baby, and it wasn't good for him. So he crumbled. He ended up snitching on everybody. As soon as the morning call came around, he told everybody everything, every detail. So that sucks.
What a motherfucker.
Yeah. Also, he went on to finish his sentences and stabbed us and killed someone that was racially charged. So he obviously was just a piece of work all the way around. Maybe he got what he deserved. So
damn. Fuck him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So these fellas get out and they're carrying all their garb and they have to descend a 50-foot vent pipe, like 50 feet down. That's a long way. So
it's 10 basketball hoops.
I fell 20.
5.
I fell 20 feet.
You're so good at math.
10-5.
Oh.
Bless your
It's a
heart.
negotiation is what math is.
I fell 20 feet off a cliff and like fucked my life up. So 50 feet seems daunting. Like, I don't know. And then also had to go over
50 feet is probably enough to kill
for
you.
sure. I mean, 20 foot
easily.
almost
30 feet
killed
is.
me. You know what I mean? But I'm also
yeah,
short.
I mean, you fall off a 3-story building, you're fucking dead. 2-story building, you break your legs.
It's not gonna feel good.
Or something.
You end up a half inch shorter.
5-story building, you're dead.
Goner.
Yeah.
So they also had to go up and over 2 12-foot barbed wire fences. So
without popping a rain jacket.
Yes. Or their life jackets they fashioned. So
And their giant testicles.
That's a
They had to carry
lot
all
to
4 of
go
them.
over.
You throw those over first.
And it just pulls you down.
They're more buoyant, right? Than the
Maybe
regular
that's
body
how
mass.
they got across so easily.
Maybe they were motorized.
Maybe they had someone they were paying on
like
the side
the
for
hop
that.
along on South Park.
So they.
Why do we always talk about balls? God. Anyway.
So these fellas do all that, get to the water, and then have to blow up this massive boat they have fashioned. And they have a couple paddles. And from a couple things I read, it looked like maybe they had people like waiting, because there was someone who said they saw an illegal boat in the water at like 1 a.m. and then a bigger boat driving off. So they thought maybe they were picked up.
But you got to think that blowing up the boat for them was probably a lot easier than the average person, because they did just get out of prison and had a lot of practice.
Too. Like, that's kind of crazy.
No, I mean like blowing.
Oh, I see what you did. Well, in the movie,
and back to the
in the movie, there was a guy who really thought Clint Eastwood was the jam and was gonna try and do that, and he was like, nope, and he beat him up, because that's a prison movie.
Young Clint Eastwood was a very handsome man, though.
I got suckered into watching a movie that had his son in it afterwards, because I was just like, he has a son that looks just like him.
Yeah,
his just fucking.
His eyes, the squinty eye thing here.
Shit, what movie was he in? He played a soldier.
Oh no, I don't know. This was about like a car heist. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Well, shit. I remember. Yeah. Anyway,
it was all right.
I wonder why he's not like a bigger like deal.
He wasn't
like he's Clint Eastwood.
He was not that good. I mean, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't like an awesome actor.
Not. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. He's got the name. It's. I mean, who's not a good actor? Fucking.
And his dad's a director. Like, why hasn't Clint cast him in more shit?
Tom Green's more famous. I mean,
That's sad.
I mean, maybe he
didn't. Tom Green. Actually, Tom Green was brilliant. Sorry, fucking the statues in the parents' yard. That's one of the best. That's better than sending somebody 1 million pizzas. That's just good.
Freddy Got Fingered is an hour and a half of my life I will never get back.
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah, Road Trip, was he in that too?
He had a very small role in that one.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anywho, so
blowing pillows, blowing boats, blowing people on boats.
There's a lot of penis ball and head talk today, so I'm gonna keep on with.
I mean, it is a prison episode, so
I know there was an awful lot of that. So they searched for these fellas for 10 days.
And they said, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go ahead.
So,
oh, really?
No, kind of. I mean, after 10 days, they were like, nope, guess not. So the Coast Guard picked up a paddle, and a wallet that was wrapped in plastic with the names and addresses of family members of the brothers and pictures of their family and friends. So they had that wrapped up in plastic and at some point lost it. They also found shreds of raincoat material found on a beach by the Golden Gate Bridge, and some one deflated life jacket made out of the same material, 50 yards off the island. So no other evidence was found, and the raft as a whole was never discovered. So the FBI believed them to be dead, but because no bodies were ever recovered, there was just a lot of doubtfulness. And then December 16th.
I do hear that San Francisco Bay is pretty shark infested.
Oh, really?
I've heard that. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I think there are quite a few sharks in the bay.
Well, it was also...
And that's another reason that Alcatraz was Alcatraz.
It's cold water.
It was also July, though, so it was probably warmer than, say, December. Which would cause
mammals...
Is that how climate works?
Animal life to be more active.
I will punch you, too.
What? I didn't hear what you said.
Is that how climate works?
It's warmer in July than it is in December.
You're smart ass. Because I'm getting to a point because I'm getting ready to talk about something in December. Okay, rude. So, anywho, in December of the same year, a John Paul Scott, who was an inmate, successfully escaped and swam the full distance of the 2.7 nautical miles from Alcatraz Island to Fort Port, where teenagers found him there with hypothermia and exhaustion. But his ass only made floaties with some like doctor's gloves, so he didn't really try that hard as far as what's going to help him get across. So they're
He must have
saying
smoked his
a
bong.
nautical mile is 1.15 real miles for some names.
yeah, it equates to 3.1 miles is the distance of where they think that Alcatraz to where they think these other guys went.
And if you're in shape, that's not really an unreasonable swim.
And
but in addition to,
he made it.
A 3-mile swim is a hell of a swim.
It is, but
I mean, yeah, it fucking sucks.
But
But if you're
And that's
in good shape, that's not
salt
But
water.
they were
and waves and
pretty-
shit, too. That's not 3 miles in a lap pool.
against current and shit
Yes,
like
but-
that too. You're right.
But fellas, they I'm trying to tell you
Fellas.
something, okay?
Stop fucking mansplaining, assholes.
Because he did this in December, so the water is colder and choppier and much more aggressive than the boys would have gone through in July. So they're saying if he made that across in these conditions, then it's way more likely that the others definitely survived and did not drown.
I was under the impression that colder water has less energy, therefore it's smoother water.
It's denser.
But the hypothermia part of it.
yeah.
Well, there's that, but it's not like the currents are less strong,
How
the
cold
waves
is-
are less.
San Francisco.
I mean, even in Florida, like, we don't get cold, but the water gets much colder than the air here in the winter.
But then when it gets colder, doesn't it calm down the water?
I don't know. We don't have waves over here, so I'm not sure.
Fancy miss, I don't have waves here.
I live on the Gulf side.
Too good for fucking waves.
We got the clear water. I hear people say that. I'm like, y'all are so weird. Anywho. So, yeah. They essentially, everyone was like, well, this could just be a farce because he made it with just some weird glove floaties around his arms and they had a giant ass raft they built. So the likelihood was then through the roof that they survived. The mother, like the family of the brothers, said that they would get random postcards with no writing, phone calls with no one talking, and that someone sent their mother flowers every Mother's Day until she passed away in 1973. So maybe, who knows?
Yeah. Or maybe it was the ghost of him.
Maybe
it was.
Maybe they got an experiment and they never aged, and so they had to just lay low because they want to freak people out, but they are still out there.
maybe it
Dude,
was just
fucking
somebody
brave.
pranking him, just like the pizza guy.
Just like the pizza
Maybe
guy.
he's out here
Um,
buying everyone pizzas.
Can you imagine, like, okay, so you're at your 8th, 9th birthday and stuff. You've got the princess or the clown or the pony or what. You got a nice outdoor, party going on. You got the cake coming. You got the presents in a pile, and then the food, the fucking food comes and shit, and it's pizza. And there's this weird old guy who fucking flips the fuck out because the pizza fucking came.
He has like PTSD from it. He's like, pizza! Or he just swerves into
would
anyone
be
driving a Vespa.
That would be the best fucking birthday ever. I'd pay to go to that one.
Oh, that's funny. So
Anyway, yeah.
But I did watch the movie. That was 1979, Escape from Alcatraz. Clint Eastwood, I obviously said. So
I've never seen that.
it was 2 hours.
Doesn't he have a monkey in that
It was, but you know what? The whole movie was so reminiscent of Shawshank Redemption that I was like, this is just a slow, boring version of that. So, yeah. That'd be that.
And I mean, Shawshank isn't one of Stephen King's movier, like as in momentum.
Right,
movies
right.
either.
But it's awesome. I think.
I think the most memorable part about that one is the prison rape, which and Morgan Freeman is Irish. So yeah, that's cool.
And I really relate to that.
Andy Dufresne.
That was
That's
a
my
good
best
one.
one. That's my
that
best one.
was.
That was the
It
best
was.
impression you ever
Like,
did.
do it again. Do it again.
You want me to do it? Andy Dufresne.
Say something else. This is so funny.
Yeah. I kind of busted out with that one time. Like I didn't know I could do that, and then Like I practiced it a lot to myself.
Do you guys
Anyway.
ever watch True Facts on YouTube?
Yes, I do. My kids love them. Sometimes it's not very appropriate.
Just like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listeners, get
cuttlefish.
stoned and watch True Facts on YouTube. It's a good time, I promise.
Okay.
Anyway, so
we
Fuck
talked
yeah.
last week about it not
Jailbreaks.
being illegal to escape prison in Germany.
Yeah.
Austria too. Both.
oh really?
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean,
The law relating to escape from prisons dates back to 1880.
but see, so it's more impressive in Germany because in Austria the prisons are like they serve you tea and you play tennis and you're all wearing white like cardigans and shit. It's very pleasant. Everybody's Austrian, eating chocolate.
Eating
chucking them out.
chocolate.
Weren't most of the Nazi concentration camps not in Germany? They're in other countries. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why.
Maybe.
Hmm.
But it's only in Germany and Austria, so Poland was Auschwitz, right?
I think they had. Wasn't Auschwitz in Poland or some shit? Where the fuck
Yeah.
was Auschwitz?
Yeah, I just said that, so it has to be true since we both agree on it.
It's about to be on the internet.
We'll go with that. Yeah. We'll go
It's
with
already on the internet.
Ta-da! So,
Pause. So, anyway, yeah, that was a good one. I thought that was fun.
It was fun.
Researching this. Good job, guys.
Yes, Auschwitz was in Poland. We were right.
Cool.
Point for us.
Gold star.
Yeah. Yay.
Woohoo!
So, do you want me to ask somebody? Or do you want to ask me? Because nobody's asked me for a long time where we can hear us,
Where can we
Talk
hear
to us.
us?
where you're listening.
Nah.
That's a Scott for you.
Do-do-do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're hearing us ask where you can listen to us, just fucking stay there.
Right there.
Or if
but
you
tell
don't
your
like
friends.
Find a different one.
But tell your friends that we're on SoundCloud and iTunes and Stitcher and almost anywhere that you can get podcasts.
Cool. Where else?
We're going to be on Spotify.
Cool.
Not yet. We're waiting on some shit to happen. But it
We're
will
still
happen.
waiting on that $10 contract.
Yeah. That's $10 over 10 years, just so everybody knows. We get like a third of a cent per day. So I mean, we're moving up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
More than we're making now, so.
If you wanted to talk to us, where could you talk to us? Anybody.
Facebook. Instagram.
Facebook. Instagram.
The email.
Twitter.
Emails, which is
highermindspodcast@gmail.com.
it is.
.com.
Which we don't know if we're allowed to say. Yeah, we didn't look that up. I didn't look that up. Did you look that up? I
No.
didn't look it up.
Did they fix our website? You were bitching about that last week.
Oh, yeah. No, we fixed it that day. Like, it was
Okay.
fixed later that day.
How responsible.
Well, actually, the website's a lot of work.
I
And
believe it.
Yeah,
What
try to
is our
take care of it.
website that people can go look at?
I'm pointing at you, which you can't tell who it is, but it's Katie.
You're asking me?
See, Katie's here for me, so
Oh,
you're
she's there
here
for me.
and
I
she's
just
here.
have
You're there.
And for
You're there.
listeners, we're on a three-way
Papa
video
Darby
chat,
up
and we're playing the
here
fucking
and a black square over
Brady
here.
Bunch
It
game
says
right now.
video paused.
And we're sitting
I
here
don't know how the hell you
pointing
do
in
it.
directions in our camera phones like
Like
morons
the Brady
that you can't
Bunch.
see.
The Brady Bunch.
If they were fingering each other,
Because we like to take it there.
which is on Pornhub. I've seen it.
Easy
I have
money.
a Darby stick figure on my thumb right now.
Whoa! So you put him up people's butts?
But,
And back to putting things in people's butts.
Yeah, that was a weird direction you went to, Katie. But okay, cool.
Why else would you have a finger puppet of anything?
Is that why you have finger puppets? Is to put it up people's butts? I
What
play
kind
with
of
kids
finger
with them.
puppets are
Like,
you playing
is that Yeah. Anyway, so this has been the Higher Minds podcast.
This is a good way
I'm
to
Papa
go
Darby.
out.
I'm Scott.
I'm Katie.
All right, deuces.
Deuces,
Bye.
everybody.